Welcome back to episode 3 of What's On at Oor Hoose. It's nice to be back. It has been quite a struggle trying to select songs from this era. For those of you who are just joining me, I'm looking at the music, movies and TV episodes that reflect the time, the period of the early 50s, 60s, 70s and onward. I lived in Musselburgh, a lovely wee town, where we as kids cared less about our history than we did about running through the back greens, hiding behind hedgerows, or being a wee bit naughty, plundering the local farmers' apple orchards. I got caught doing that a couple of times. We loved reading Oor Willie and the Bruins. We also enjoyed getting together down the Grove, which is a lovely wooded area where we had the perfect tree for a rope swing. For those who were brave enough, they would swing as high and far over the river as possible. Some of us kids had little jobs, spending money, helping the milk or the coal man deliver their goods. As we got older, many of us worked at Pinky Farms, picking raspberries and strawberries. I was terrible. You got paid by the punnet, but I usually ate more than went in my punnet, so I didn't make too much money. But what I did make, I enjoy spending on bridies and sausage rolls freshly baked at Crawford's Bakery. Or if I was really flush, I'd go to the fish and chip shop. Musselburgh and its surrounding areas is full of history. Archaeology digs are common in the surrounding fields. Musselburgh Town Hall on Main Street is full of history. The shop owners may have changed over the years, adding a facelift here and there, but the basic structure has endured. The Roman bridge, originally built by the Romans in 1300s and rebuilt in 1597, proudly straddles the River Esk, which flows through Musselburgh. Swans, along with many other species of birds, draws twitchers and visitors alike. Every year you can count on seeing the baby cygnets. They appeared from May to July, and people loved watching them grow. I remember an unusually hot summer. Our beautiful Louisville Park was splattered with bodies of locals and visitors enjoying the sunshine. I remember laying on my blanket with my pals, listening to the radio and loving the music. Maybe you'll remember some of these. Hang On Sloopy by the McCoys.
Hang on, Sloopy, Sloopy, hang on. Hang on, Sloopy.
Mony Mony with Tommy James and the Shandells.
Here she comes now, saying money, money. Well, shoot 'em down, turn around, come on, money. Hey, she give me love and I feel alright now. He got me tossing.
Who could forget Dave Clark 5, Bits and Pieces?
I'm the pieces, bits and pieces. Since you left me, I just said goodbye. I'm the pieces, bits and pieces.
The Honeycombs gave us Have I the Right?
Have I the right to hold you? You know I've always told you that we must never, ever part. Oh, have I the right to kiss
And
you?
one of my old faves, Herman's Hermits with Something's Happening. summer, my mum would take me, my sister, and two brothers back to Ireland, to the county of Donegal, where she was born. We loved to listen to her gab away to our granny and aunts in Gaelic. It was idyllic for us kids. We ran through the fields, finding and freeing little frogs and toads. We helped milk goats and churn butter. We sat on the hilltop and watched our Uncle Johnny signal to his collie dogs, who amazingly responded to his commands and herded the sheep. One of the big treats, though, was when the delivery van came once a week and us kids stored up on all the sweeties we wanted. But back in Scotland, along with all my friends, my brothers and sister and I enjoyed watching Top of the Pops. We sat glued to the TV every Thursday at 7:30. Top of the Pops was filmed in a studio on Dickinson Road in Rusholme, Manchester, and it ran from 1964 to 2006. Despite much controversy over the pressure for the performers to lip sync, Top of the Pops did continue to be a very popular show, and it was a springboard for more success for the bands. We heard artists like Adam Faith, Gene Pickney, Georgie Fame, Jerry and the Pacemakers, Sandy Shaw, Billy Fury, Cilla Black, Manfred Mann, Val Doonican, my mum loved him, Tom Jones, Petula Clark, Donovan, Dusty Springfield, the Kinks, the Hollies, and the Who, and so many more. Now, Georgie Fame only had 3 songs enter the top 10 charts, but all of them hit number 1. I think my favourite was Yay Yay.
Every evening, when all my days work are through, I call my baby and let's go watch her with you. I'm at some movies, but she don't seem to dig that. And then she asks me, why don't I come to her flat and have some supper and let the evening pass by? I'm taking records besides a groovy high five. I say yeah yeah, and that's what I say yeah yeah. My baby loves me, she gets me feeling so fine.
Jerry and the Pacemakers were so popular back then. What a fantastic voice Jerry had. Jerry Masdern and his brother Fred, along with Les Chadwick and Arthur McMallan, were 4 lads from Liverpool and were huge in the 60s. They had a lot in common with the Beatles. Jerry and the boys were part of the Merseybeat scene, which basically means they came from Liverpool and Mersey referred to the Mersey River. They also travelled around Hamburg, Germany at the same time as the Beatles. They were the second band to be signed by Brian Epstein.
Life goes on day after day. Hearts torn in every way. So ferry cross the Mersey.
Philip Leach, better known as Donovan, was born in 1946 in Maryhill, Glasgow. He did great songs like Hurdy-Gurdy Man and Mellow Yellow, which were a blend of jazz, psychedelic, and world music. Donovan is credited with influencing many bands, including the Beatles. On their trip to India, he taught John, Paul, and George many of his unique chords, which they used on the White Album, most notably Dear Prudence and Julia. Donovan received much accolades and many awards. However, his lasting achievement is that he is the first artist to have created songs about ecological disaster. Over the years, he has composed 21 songs about what we now call climate change. In 1969, when he was only 23, Donovan wrote Digging the Future Now.
Can you see the ocean rise? Can you see the ocean rise? Can you see the ocean rise? Digging the future now. Digging the future now. Digging the future now. Digging the future now.
This is the BBC.
The polar ice cap is indeed melting, and in an unprecedented move, the Security Council of the United Nations has declared global warming a crime against humanity.
Let's look at this TV, the small screen. I have the fondest memories of my family watching the Morecambe and Wise show. Eric Morecambe and Ernie Wise started out in the 1940s as child stars, working the variety show circuit. They met when they were both booked individually to appear on the Jack Hilton Revue Youth Take a Bow show at the Nottingham Empire Theatre. At first, competing with each other, Eric's mum suggested they team up as a double act. Their friendship and working relationship stayed strong over the 45 years until in 1979, Eric, who had a history of heart disease, suffered a heart attack and collapsed while exiting the stage of the Rose Theatre in Tewkesbury. Sadly, Eric died shortly after that at the age of 58. The song and dance team were revered for their comedic timing and one-liners. The show aired in 1968 and they entertained us each week, raising havoc on their many special guests. My absolute favourite skit was with the classical orchestrator Andre Previn. It was classic. You should check it out. It was impossible to feel sad when you listened to their song that they closed each show with, Bring Me Sunshine.
Bring me sunshine in your smile. Bring me laughter all the while. In this world where we live, there should be more happiness. So much joy you can give to each brand new bright tomorrow. Make me
Well, that takes us to the big screen. I've been flipping-flopping a little bit with my dates, but 1964, I was just 11 years old. I have the fondest memories of our longtime neighbour and his two girls who I grew up with. Their dad, Tam, took my sister and myself up to Edinburgh, to the Odeon Cinema, where we were thrilled to watch The Sound of Music. The Odeon Cinema was one of those beautiful old Victorian theatres. The dome lights above sparkled with hundreds, possibly thousands of tiny little starlights. The anticipation as the actual red curtains opened and Julie Andrews came running up over that hill just blew us all away. It was a wonderful treat for girls of our age. That same year, Julie Andrews gave us Mary Poppins. I don't care what anyone says, it was a brilliant movie, and I still to this day enjoy watching it with my granddaughter, just as I did with my kids when they were young. Now, a few years later came Dr. Zhivago, and I'm pretty sure my dates are off. According to Wikipedia, it came out in 1965. I would have been too young to have seen it, but I did see it a few years later, and I think it's a brilliant movie with the most beautiful Julie Christie and Omar Sharif. The music score was spectacular. Well, folks, that takes me to my conclusion of this episode, but I just would like to end off with a personal story, a great memory. As some of you may be aware, Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees married a Musselburgh girl called Linda Gray. Now, Linda Gray was going to visit our small town of Musselburgh along with Lulu, who was going to be with her fiance, Morris Gibb. This created all kinds of excitement for us neighborhood kids. So on the day of their arrival, me and my sister and all the other little neighborhood kids hung around waiting the arrival. Somehow, though, we were shooed away. The next day, on my way back from doing messages for my mum, I was walking up the street, and who did I see? Yes, it was Barry, and he was looking fine. He seemed very tall to me. He wore a red, high polo neck ribbed sweater, black crushed velvet trousers, and black beetle boots. He held on to the leash, at the end of which was attached a very large white Pyrenees dog. Now, since I had no airs and graces at that age, I just said, "Hello there, Mr. Gibb. How are you? Me and my wee sister were waiting for you yesterday, but we didn't see you. My mum was a wee bit mad with me because I was late. I like your dog, by the way." And needless to say, Barry Gibb just stood there staring at me. He did give me a little smile, and I just said, "Well, cheerio then, Mr. Gibb," and off I went. That was my grace with stardom. Well, let's hope that we can all meet again for my next trip down memory lane. Please come back and join me for What's On at Oor Hoose. Take care.